analysis with over 70 years combined experience. This is the Bob Ryan and Jeff Goodman podcast. NBA, some college, a little bit.
You're listening to the Bob Ryan, Jeff Goodman, Tanguay Along for the Ride podcast, a proud member of the CLNS Media Network. The show is brought to you by PrizePicks, North America's #1 daily fantasy sports app. Download today and use code CLNS to get $50 when you play 5. PrizePicks, run your game. Okay, guys, we have a Game 7. Jeff Goodman, I'll start with you. We should not be surprised.
Yes and no, right? Like yes and no. I think watching the series, you look back and you say, yes, we should not be surprised. Going into this series, I think if you had told people that this would go Game 7 and be up for grabs going into Game 7 with, oh, by the way, Tyrese Haliburton not being at 100%, we would be surprised. But, man, the way the Pacers play, and I give Rick Carlisle a lot of credit because we did not think Bob Ryan's buddy Rick Carlisle would be one of those adaptable guys in his mid-60s. He's the oldest coach to coach in the NBA Finals, which I found an astounding stat. But he's adapted. I mean, they're running, they're gunning. It's fun to watch. I always thought Carlisle would be such a micromanager, and he was. He was for years. But he's let these guys play, let them play through their mistakes. You don't see him going after guys after they take maybe an ill-advised shot or a turnover, any of that. Like I hate to, like, I think he's mellowed, Bob.
He's figured it out about how to go about this job. And you're right. The key word, and you have used this word regarding him all over the place, is adaptable. He's adapting. Let's remember he was remember how he got into his entree into the coaching ranks. Larry Bird, being Larry Bird, knew what he didn't know. And he knew what his strengths was and where he needed help. And he got himself a old sage mentor in Dick Harder, and he hired a young whippersnapper, former teammate, defensive coordinator to be in Rick Carlisle. That's how Rick got started, defensive coordinator, de facto of the Pacers. And when he coached Detroit, he was known as a hands-on coach. I mean, he was definitely kind of a hard ass, And he still had that reputation to a degree, even winning in Dallas. Anyway, this is not the same guy. And I pointed out earlier in the series that one stretch they had against the Thunder when they scored 3 baskets on made baskets, boom, boom, boom. And I said, this is the reincarnation of the Showtime Lakers. Whoever would have thought that watching a Rick Carlisle team, you would even have such a thought. But you had to have it at that point. They were playing up-tempo basketball to the max. And there they are now, basically an up-tempo team who, oh, by the way, was that a defensive performance last night or what? It seemed like every other possession, they're taking the ball from somebody. And this is OKC's forte. So there you're looking at two, aggressive defenses. So anyway, Rick is coming out of this with his enhanced reputation and holding.
Hey, Bob.
Even if they lose Sunday.
Bob, before Gary asks the next question, I want to get, what is your favorite Rick Carlisle story? Give me your favorite. It can be anything.
Oh, it's very, very serious. This tells you who the real person is, I think. He was coaching Detroit. And one night, I got a phone call. It's from Rick Carlisle. And what he was doing was lobbying for some of his players for postseason awards. He was calling up voters. And Ben Wallace for Defensive Player of the Year. I'm sure that was the big one, right?
Yeah.
But there was a couple, and that's the first and only in my entire career covering the NBA, going back to 1969, that anyone's ever done a thing like that.
Yeah.
And what I said, that's it. I've never had anyone do anything like that. What Rick Carlisle did. And it wasn't heavy pressure. He was trying to say, hey, Bob, think about it.
Trying to give you info. Yeah, just trying to give you info. That's all.
Yeah, I'd love it if you would, but think about it kind of thing. He wasn't putting any kind of pressure on me.
No. He was trying to educate the great Bob.
Yes.
Ryan. That's what he was trying to do.
Refreshing, and I've never had anything like it.
Yeah.
Yep.
What do you think about the last 2 games where, specifically Game 6, I was watching the game and OKC was up early. They were up 6. They were up 7. Um, Pacers make a run and then just put it away. Bob, I was surprised. I don't want to say quit because that's not fair, but I was surprised how quickly the Thunder were out of the game. I
Well,
was
in game
shocked.
cricket, yeah, you weren't ready for it at that point. It starts off by very slow both ways. It was a horrendous start artistically, and someone said whether it was either Breen or I think it was probably Mike. This isn't anything pretty right now. It certainly wasn't. Okay, yeah, but then when they got rolling, it was because they were just taking the ball every time they Indiana had, I mean, OKC had the ball. Yeah, absolutely. But the eye opening was the beginning of the third quarter. You realize they went scoreless for 5 minutes and 6 seconds to start the third quarter, and when it was all over, they were out of the game. And they went going back into the second quarter. They went scoreless for almost 7 minutes, scoreless in this game. That was stunning right there. So
who's been the X factor? I'll ask you. Who do you think's been the X factor for this series? Who's been the guy that's kind of changed everything?
TJ O'Connell.
Yes.
TJ
McConnell. Yep.
People, if they didn't know anything about him, they better know something now about what his value is. Absolutely. TJ O'Connell's been the 31-year-old breakout star, if you will, a veteran's breakout star of the. But yeah, everybody in the league knew this, but now the public the world is.
But Carlisle gave him. I think again, I'm going back to Rick Carlisle here because nobody's ever given TJ McConnell this type of freedom, right? TJ's never played this way.
Yeah,
where he's attacked, because he really has been known as a non-shooter his entire career, and they dare him to shoot the three now in the NBA Finals. But the pressure he puts on defenses is amazing. And again, he has that swagger. He can get in there and score if necessary from mid-range, or he just finds his teammates like he was doing last night. Like he just. It's almost teams don't know what to do with him in terms of guarding him.
When you look at Bob, I just want to I want to throw in the numbers for him last night. 12 points, which I expect that.
Yeah.
9 rebounds.
It's tough as shit.
6 assists.
Yeah.
4 steals.
That's a totally exemplary line for a 6, whatever he is. 1.
Yeah. The 9 boards for that. I mean, he's everywhere.
Yeah. I keep coming back to the comparison. I told you when I first saw Pritchard, I said, I hope he can grow up to be TJ O'Connell.
Yeah.
And he has.
Yeah.
Pritchard had. This is what Pritchard does. And the rebounding. And I always say that Pritchard is good for one sneaky offensive rebound a game. And probably the same can be said for O'Connell. Anyway, yeah, that's a tremendous line. That's a staggeringly good line for a guy of his size.
Hey, Gary, when is Bob going to get TJ's last name right? I mean, the dude's in the NBA Finals.
I keep saying O'Connell, don't I? I keep saying O'Connell. And I should know better because I first discovered his auntie, Susie. I wrote a column about her in Barcelona and about her. And Mick Connell.
He's got a sister. He's got a sister in the WNBA now, too, by the way, I think with the Mercury.
Okay, yeah.
It's a family.
It's an athletic family.
Bob, you've done enough. You can screw up anybody's name. Everybody knows what you're talking about.
Hey, there's a lot going on up there. There's a lot stored up there. So some things don't quite make its way in listen.
But you were so right to point him out. He's been absolutely.
He's my guy. Of all, I'll say this, guys. Of all the guys I've covered in high school, in college, in the NBA, TJ McConnell's right up there with my favorite. Just because there's no bullshit with him. We had him on the pod, Gary, before you came on.
Yeah.
We had him on, I think, during the pandemic, Bob.
Yeah, during the pandemic.
He's just I wish we could have a more open conversation with him because he's too smart to say anything stupid, right? You know those guys. We both do. We all do. Like those guys that if you get them off the record, you're just going to sit there and listen to them tell stories. TJ's too smart to get himself in trouble with anything he says. But, man, you just sit around with this kid and you talk to him about anything, I always said this when he was at Arizona. It was like talking to an adult, and there aren't that many like that in college, right? Most of those, it's different. It's hard to carry on a conversation. It's hard to do an interview with them that will last more than 10, 15 minutes. I could talk to TJ all day long, and it's just been fun to watch his career. As I always say, like he didn't know if he could make the league, and then he goes through that awful tanking in Philly, which for him worked out because it gave him the ability to play because they wanted to lose. And TJ was kind of the perfect guy for that at that time. But man, he got paid a year or so ago with a good contract, and now he's become indispensable. Like he'll get one more really good contract now, even at his age. He'll get one more, I would think, one more pretty good contract.
Yeah. So I'd say the runner up in this, it would be Obi Toppin.
Yes,
Obi
he was
Toppin's
great.
been consistently good.
Wow.
Another 20 last night.
Yes,
and he's been. But their bench, it's the story of both teams. Both teams, their benches are. And last night the battle was clearly won by Indiana. The final tally of bench doesn't show the discrepancy because the entire fourth quarter was a garbage time in which Indiana's starters did not play at all. But anyway, if you only looked at the stats, you noted that Indiana's bench outscored their bench 48-37. You don't realize at one point it was like 20-2.
right.
Yeah. And so that's when the game mattered. By the way, I made a note to myself, and I debated Xing it out, but I said, yeah, you don't want to get too much of a smart ass. But I'll say it here. My instinct during that third quarter was this was the equivalent of an NCAA 116 game. That's what it looked like to me. It was so totally dominant in that third quarter. Totally.
Well, I just thought the Thunder.
Shocking.
I thought the Thunder.
So who do we have? All right. So who do we have winning the whole? I mean, do we all?
I don't know. I mean,
right.
now
It's hard.
OKC's had one. They had a seventh game against Denver. You remember that score?
Yeah.
125-93. Okay. But this is the ultimate seventh game. And they are young, and people are now pointing out how young they are, and they're tied almost to the decimal point age-wise with the youngest team ever to win an NCAA tournament.
Might as well be.
An NBA Finals, which was the 77 Trailblazers, who had 4 starters 25 and under, led by you-know-who. So, okay. They're young, and how they're going to react to an ultimate Game 7. But their one exposure to a Game 7, they came up very, very big. So I don't think we can. It's hard to handicap.
Cash in on the basketball playoffs with PrizePicks. Come on, folks, you got one big game left. Don't miss your last chance to add your favorite players out of the court for the PrizePicks lineup. We know everybody's going to be on the floor for this one. Whether it's points, rebounds, assists, take your pick more or less for your shot to win up to 2,000 times your cash today. PrizePicks offers Venmo, Apple Pay, MasterCard, and more for quick and easy deposits into your accounts this sports season. Every Tuesday, PrizePicks will discount several projections on the board, usually by 15 to 25%. Sign up today and get $50 instantly when you play 5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. So, what do you think? SGA going to have a big game? Yeah, I say more than 10 assists. Halliburton, more than 20 points? Sure. That's it. Make those picks. Or make your picks. Download the app today and use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, run your game.
Will this be whoever wins, Gary? Do we think like this is the most underwhelming NBA championship team?
Well, okay, there's 2 ways to answer that. From a marketing perspective, yes. We all know the small markets don't do well. The NBA offices in New York City would love to have New York, LA, Boston, LA. We all know it. Maybe Dallas.
Yeah, somebody.
And we get that. We understand that. Performance-wise, I think it's been great. I mean, if you're a basketball fan, which both of you are, it's been phenomenal. But for the average fan,
But I'm saying when we look back at these rosters,
right,
and whoever wins it in 20, 30 years, and you look back and you're like, especially if Indiana wins, like if Oklahoma City wins, I think Shai's going to go down as one of the better players of this era. Okay. I'm not sure we could say that about Tyrese Halliburton, guys.
I think that what you're saying reflects the era that we're playing in.
Yeah.
I think we're playing, like I'm suiting up.
Yeah.
Obviously, we're not in the dynasty era. The dynasty era is gone. The last time that happened is when LeBron was a younger man. And the dynasty's left with KD leaving Golden State and LeBron getting old. I mean, that's it. There's no player like that. I mean, that's the thing, Jeff. It's like SGA's great, but he's not.
No, but last
LeBron.
year
He's not Jordan. He's not LeBron. He's not KD at his peak.
But last year we had, forget about Boston. Forget about the city. Take that out of the equation.
Right.
You still had more recognizable names, right? You had Jason Tatum, you had Jaylen Brown, even Drew Holiday, Porzingis. You're talking about this team and you're going through and you're like, we're talking about TJ McConnell. We're talking about Miles Turner.
Right.
We're talking about, Pascal Siakam's an awesome player. Listen, an awesome player. But again, all I'm saying is in 25 years, if the Pacers win this thing and we look back at this roster, I think we're going to be like, holy shit, we got to give Rick Carlisle even more credit.
I'll throw one recent team into the discussion. The Raptors.
Yeah. Good one. Yeah.
You can't name too many Raptors. And they got
Kawhi. You look at it and you're like Kawhi.
Kawhi, of course.
Yeah.
But anyway,
how about the Pistons? with Chauncey and Rasheed.
Right. Yep.
Well, that was famous for that, and but not having total marquee names. But I thought I thought that was a bit overblown myself. Let's say Indiana wins, but Shai Gilgeous-Alexander has a typical Shai Gilgeous-Alexander game. How are we going to deny him, even in defeat?
I always say that the MVP should go to the winner. Always. I feel so strongly about that you need to win the NBA Finals to get the most valuable player. You can't lose.
We're gonna agree to disagree.
Okay.
Because I think the word valuable to me is the problem here. He's been the player of the series, the best player, period. And I'll give you that hasn't happened often, but there was one that was absolutely totally logical. Jerry West in '69. The Celtics won, but Jerry West did win, and he should have. And started off with 53, and then he slumped down to 41 in the second game. And you check out his numbers in Game 7. It was a colossal triple-double in defeat. You can't blame anything on him. So anyway, I'm just talking about I would be willing, were I a voter, to vote for Shai, even if the Indiana wins, depending on how well he plays tomorrow night. Anyway,
Pascal's been pretty good, guys. That's what I'll say in this series.
Well, that would be like an Iguodala choice.
Right.
Yeah. Right. But I'm fine with that. I'm fine. I mean, look at what Siakam's done in this series.
Oh no, he's been terrific.
I don't know how you. I mean, again, are his numbers as good? No, but he's averaging 20 points, 8 rebounds, 4 assists. His energy, almost a block and a half. I don't know. I just feel like that's good enough. That's good enough to win it.
All right, guys. Bob, I'm rooting for Indiana, but I think OKC wins it.
Yeah, I mean, if I had to bet, I don't. But if I did, I would say, I'll bet on OKC. I don't care what the spread.
At home, right? At home, it's hard.
Yeah, I can't. So I'd bet on them, but I will. No one should be remotely surprised if Indiana wins, based on what we've seen them do. Not only the whole playoffs, but going back to January 6th. When they first went over 500 at 19-18 with a victory over the Brooklyn Nets, and they have been a tremendous team ever since. Ever since. One question for you guys: we've entered officially in the 2-month period since we started in April 19. 2 months of playoff basketball. Your overview. What have you seen? What do you? How do you rate these playoffs?
Jeff,
I think they've been very good. I mean, very good. Some blowouts. Obviously, I'd rather have fewer blowouts than we've had over the course of the playoffs. But, I like the contrast in styles now. I don't think everybody's going with Celtics 3-ball. We haven't seen it in this series nearly as much, which I like. I know you love it, Bob.
Yeah.
So I think now with having these two teams in the finals and one of them winning it, I think maybe some people will start to see again, you don't have to jack up 40 or 50 3-pointers to win a title.
Historically, sports leagues have been copycats. NBA, no exception. And I hope you're right. I really don't see how anyone can come to any other conclusion based on what they saw here. We had one game in which the Thunder won while making 3 threes. They won a game in the finals, making 3 threes. So there's another way to play. And this, I hope, is a lesson learned on Causeway Street in Boston.
I agree. My feeling on this is that the basketball is great. The star power sucks. And
well, they're quiet too. Shai is quiet. That's part of the problem.
I mean,
Shai, we don't even know who Shai is, and I'm going to blame the TV networks for this as well.
Oh, sure.
Because it's not just Shai and his I know Shai a little bit. Let's tell his story more. But they don't do any features, nothing anymore about these guys and who they are. The common fan has no idea who Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is. They have no idea Tyrese Halliburton's background. The TV networks have done an atrocious job of marketing these guys.
Agreed.
You're so right about Shai, particularly since he's a Canadian. I'd love to know how he developed this game.
Right.
Now, I know he went to Kentucky. You know that. But I mean, how they saw him. What was going on. I love, they have the all-Canadian backcourt. Lou Dort, Montreal. Yes. Okay? I want to know more about him. You're right. It's a good point.
All right. That'll do it for this show, guys. You've been listening to the Bob Ryan, Jeff Goodman, Tanguay Along for the Ride podcast, member of the CLNS Media Network. The show is brought to you by PrizePicks, North America's #1 daily fantasy sports app. Download today and use code CLNS to get $50 when you play 5. PrizePicks, run your game.